Imagine landing back in Canada after a quick trip to see family in Europe and being pulled into a long interview. Your answers must be 100% truthful and consistent, or you could face refusal at the border. That's the reality behind IRCC's Forward Regulatory Plan, 2025 to 2027, which proposes to clearly prescribe when officers can require truthful answers and attendance at interviews, not only at airports, but also for people already in Canada during extensions and compliance checks. If you are residing in Canada and decided to visit your relatives abroad or travel to resort down south in Mexico or Cuba, your re-entry to Canada may not be as easy as it was before. What are the changes that IRCC implemented for people seeking re-entry to Canada based on their temporary residence authorization? IRCC plans to amend the regulations to clearly define examination duties for temporary residents who already hold visas or permits. In practice, that means that officers can require you to answer questions truthfully and attend an interview during extensions, renewals, or compliance checks. Admission is never guaranteed, even with a valid visa or ETA. CBSA can refuse entry if purpose, documents, or history don't align with the rules. Misrepresentation, even unintentional, can lead to a 5-year ban under IRPA Section 40. These measures also directly affect Ukrainians who are CUAET visa holders. CUAET visa entry ended in 2024, but in Canada, options to extend their status in Canada will continue for many who arrived on / before March 31st, 2024, including the ability to apply for open work permits or extensions, now with standard fees. That means more inland processing and more opportunities for interviews and document checks. If you travel, expect questions about your purpose, funds, ties, and compliance. Our client, Ivan, who is a CUAET visa holder currently residing in Canada, was waiting for his common law spouse to come join him in Canada. However, his common law partner, who was traveling from the United States by car and tried to enter Canada, was refused because proof of relationship didn't satisfy the officer. The officer expressed his doubts why his common law spouse did not come to Canada with Ivan, and why only after 1 year the common law spouse decided to leave the United States to join Ivan in Canada. What should have been done by the common law spouse? She should have gathered strong proof of cohabitation with Ivan, including prior lease agreement or property ownership documents from Ukraine, certificates of birth of the children confirming that Ivan is a father, banking documents showing financial integration of the common law partners, photos, and all sorts of correspondence demonstrating a strong common law tie between the couple. Our second story is about Maria, who arrived to Canada after March 31st, 2024, when CUAET program was closed, and Ukrainians could no longer enter under CUAET special measures. Travelers arriving later were processed under regular visitor visa rules. If a traveler intended to work immediately but lacked a valid work permit or clear plan to apply inland, CBSA could refuse entry for inconsistent or dual intent or inadequate documentation. If you're entering under CUAET, carry good proofs of your eligibility and plans, how to prepare if you are a temporary resident and you are planning to return to Canada. Gather documents confirming identity and status, such as passport, and your current status documents, such as work permit, study permit, or temporary resident visa, and proof of your arrival on or before March 31st, 2024, confirming that you are entering Canada, relying on CUAET measures which are still active. 2. Purpose and funds. For workers, have your job offer / contract, recent pay stubs, employer letter confirming ongoing employment, and leave dates if traveling. For students, have your school enrollment letter, tuition payment proof, transcripts / attendance. For visitors, have your return ticket, itinerary, proof of funds, and accommodation. 3. Have documents showing your ties to Canada. Lease, mortgage, utility bills, family ties in Canada, proof of community ties. Clean record, prior compliance, no overstays, unauthorized work or study. Ensure that your forms match your reality addresses, jobs, travel history. Keep a timeline notes if you need to avoid contradictions at interview. When you are asked when you arrived or some other dates, your answers match the dates in your documents. Having a little note with the date is okay for such purpose. Be ready that you will be asked questions to which you should provide clear, honest answers about purpose, funds, work-study plans, and travel dates. Bring translated documents if originals aren't in English/French. If your passport is expiring soon, you will have to explain why you have not applied to renew your passport and have available evidence, such as emails/letters from consulate/authorities or your application for travel document. Here are the examples what you should state to the immigration officer if interviewed at the airport on your way back to Canada. If you are a worker returning from short trip, state that I'm employed full-time with such and such employer in such and such city. Here is my work permit, pay stubs, and a letter confirming my leave and return date. I'm returning to continue my job. I have housing at such address and funds available. If you are a student returning from short trip, state that I'm enrolled at school. Here are my enrollment letter, transcripts, and tuition receipt. I live at address. I'm returning to continue my studies. If you are a CUAET visa holder from Ukraine returning from short trip, state that I arrived to Canada on such and such date under CUAET. Here is my proof. I have funds available and accommodation at such address. I understand I must apply inland for any new permit and will follow the regular process. Or, I have a work permit valid till such and such date and will extend it close to its expiration. If you have family members in Canada while you traveled out of Canada, state the things mentioned above and provide the name of your family member, wife, or husband, provide their phone number, and mention that the officer can call your family member to confirm any information that the immigration officer may have. The following things can trigger suspicion of the immigration officer: intending to work but arriving as a visitor without a valid work permit or pathway to apply, incomplete or inconsistent answers versus what you wrote in your last application, unclear funding or accommodation plans, travel history that suggests overstays or unauthorized work/study. If you are stopped at the airport and denied entry by the immigration officer, do the following. Stay calm and answer truthfully. If you can't provide a document, explain why and what you can provide quickly. If refused entry, ask for the specific reason in writing. You may need a temporary resident permit or to reapply with stronger evidence. If you receive a procedural fairness letter in an extension, respond fast with organized evidence. Consider legal help. If you found this helpful, like the video, subscribe, and share your experience in the comments, especially if you've traveled recently on CUAET status. If you have a complex case, book a consultation through the link below. We're offering limited complimentary consultations for CUAET holders working or studying in Alberta, Ontario, and BC.